Hello, welcome to Access. I'm Rob. Joining us is Hollie.
Hey, everyone.
Hollie, this is 5 reasons even non-JRPG fans need to play Ni No Kuni II Revenant Kingdom. The first reason, the first Ni No Kuni was a collaboration between Level 5 and Studio Ghibli. Studio Ghibli are not involved with Ni No Kuni II. However, despite that, look at it.
Oh, visually, this is just a treat.
It is amazing, isn't it? I mean, Yoshiyuki Momose, the former Studio Ghibli character designer, is working on Ni No Kuni II, so it does still have that kind of feel, despite the fact that Ghibli are not directly involved this time, but it still looks and feels like a Ghibli movie. And that incredible art style, look at this.
Sorry, this is like childhood stuff.
It's, if you've ever watched anything, you know, any of the Ghibli movies, as I'm sure many people have, this is a kind of game you're going to fall in love with, whether or not you're a fan of JRPGs. I remember Dave absolutely loved the first Ni No Kuni.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did. He absolutely went on about it for weeks. He is not a massive JRPG fan whatsoever. And I think the visual style of it, the beautiful just design of the world and design of the characters and the monsters, just, you know, made him absolutely fall in love. And I think everyone is going to do that. Second reason, we're seeing it now, there's a world map, and this is the world map, and on the world map you control chibi style versions of your characters. So this is like a classic kind of JRPG world map kind of thing, where it's not directly it's not real proportions like we're seeing here. It's slightly scaled back, and you control little cute versions of your characters as they roam about this massive, beautiful and impressive land.
Do you remember how like bleak world maps were on like the PS1 days? Because obviously just graphically you couldn't do it, and how beautiful that was.
That's
just
what I
then.
want to say. It looked like, you know, any other bit of the game. You think back to the old Final Fantasy world maps, and they were just
bleak,
horrible pixel representations of towns and things. I mean, exploring this world, it's going to be such an incredible world to explore. Massive as well. We've been promised that this is going to be bigger than the first Ni No Kuni.
Yes.
Visually more impressive, more variation in the kind of locations you can explore, and just getting around that world is going to be amazing.
Can't wait.
Number 3. This is a key point. The battle system is very different to the first Ni No Kuni. We're about to see it in a minute. I'm going to step on this magic portal and be transported to a trial, which is basically a boss fight.
Always step on the portal. Rule 1 of JRPGs.
Always step on the portal. So here we go. But the battle system, if you don't usually play JRPGs and you're a bit scared about role-playing battle systems and turn-based stuff, don't worry about that, because Ni No Kuni 2's battle system, as you're about to see, is very much real-time, which is quite a big departure from the first game.
It was actually, because the first one was more of the classic, dare I say, JRPG styling, although we had the familiars.
Yeah.
But it was still slightly more classic in terms of what a JRPG fan would expect.
Yeah, you could move around the battlefield, but in terms of entering your commands, that was all done via a menu. With Ni No Kuni 2, as you're about to see any second now, come on, game.
It's like, you know what's
Show
happening,
me
Rob.
the boss. There's the boss. Quite a lot of Evan's moves are done in real time just by inputting an attack command, and he will swing his sword and do various moves. You have got other more powerful magical moves which are on like a hotkey system. If you see in the bottom right corner of the screen, you can hold down R2, there we go, and you have various sword attacks and magical attacks mapped to each of the face buttons. And also a key thing, we're going to see them here, Hollie. Your favourite thing, you talk about these.
Higgledies!
Yeah.
So these kind of replace the idea of the familiar system. So the Higgledies in battle all kind of do different things, and once they're grouped together, you can use their powers. Now you can see they're all different colours, and these kind of represent what they're able to do.
Yeah.
So I do believe the fire ones, obviously it's related to fire magic. I believe the green ones are for healing, Rob?
Yes, and the blue ones restore your... I want to say MP. I don't think it's specifically called MP, but the energy you had. It's not called MP in Ni No Kuni 2.
So it's SP, so...
SP, MP. The currency you use to cast your magic spells, basically.
Look at them! Run, my minions.
But we did another video back at E3 on a separate demo. I fought a really difficult boss, and there were Higgledies there that allowed you to erect a shield that defended you against fire damage. So I think depending on what you're fighting, you're going to have different Higgledies allowing you to do different things. It's not just going to be healing, fire magic, curing your SP, MP, whatever it is. they're going to be quite contextual. So depending on what you're fighting, you'll be able to really kind of vary your tactics with the Higgledies.
I think they're adorable.
They're a really interesting addition to the battle system because they're optional. You don't have to use them, but you can. Obviously, it is recommended that you do.
So you can see now the green ones have got the ring around them. If Rob was to run into that ring and command the Higgledies, it'll heal.
Yeah,
it'll
I've done it too late there. You have to wait till they group together. So we've got the grey ones have combined there.
Are we going to do it?
And I think that increases my attack power.
Oh, blimey.
Thog.
This is so cute.
He's a big old damage sponge there.
I think for those who've played the previous Ni No Kuni, this has been the biggest change, and this has been the one that people have been, I want to say, concerned about, because it is a change. And
people,
change
is scary, isn't it? But having played it, I mean, you're watching the first time I played it here. It was very easy to get into, very intuitive. And if you are a massive JRPG fan and you're worried that there's not enough strategy or the real-time combat has dumbed it down a bit, I wouldn't say that's a problem at all, because you've got like we just saw it there, your attacks that you can bring up on your skill button on R2, and the Higgledies really are a really interesting addition to it as well.
I think they're just marvellous. I just love them watching them all run around and like, oh, they've been knocked down. They were throwing spears at one point.
Yes, they were indeed. Set up my attack power again. But we're going to move on to point number 4, which is another thing that's easy to overlook, but I think is really important for Ni No Kuni, and that is, we mentioned how Ghibli are not involved this year, this time, but Yoshiyuki Momose, the character designer from Ghibli, is still on board. Joe Hisaishi, the famous composer, is still on board and is still composing the music. The music in Ni No Kuni is some of my favourite video game music of all time. The main Ni No Kuni theme.
Yeah.
Such a memorable piece of music. And it's so intrinsic to the feel and the atmosphere of the game, that soundtrack. And that soundtrack is back. And it just, as soon as I heard it, it just transported me back to when I played the first game. It feels so magical. And it evokes this sense of childlike wonder, which I think Ni No Kuni really manages to do really well. So I'm really pleased to see the soundtrack back.
It's really hard to find that balance between creating childlike wonder and making something feel childish.
Yes.
And Ni No Kuni, despite its young appearance and its cartoon aesthetics, or anime aesthetics, everyone yells at me, it doesn't feel like a childish game.
Absolutely not. I mean, the first Ni No Kuni was hard.
It was. I mean, it was not just a difficult game, but it had a very dark.
It was
theme.
deep. It was dark. Some of the boss battles kicked my ass.
I mean, Hino-san said he felt this game was darker again.
Yeah. Because we're following the story of Evan Pettywhisker of House Tildrum, who you're controlling now. The little boy who is a king who's lost his kingdom, I think, and he's got to rebuild his kingdom.
Ding Dong Dell.
The Kingdom of Ding Dong Dell. It's not a childish game. It's not a child's game. That leads us on to point number 5. The story, and in particular, the way the story is delivered through the voice acting. And I remember Ni No Kuni, the first Ni No Kuni, was one of the most impressive, not just in terms of voice acting, but the localization into English from the Japanese version was some of the best localization of a script I think I've ever seen in a game.
It was, and funnily, Drippy, who was obviously famously cast as Welsh, is Osakan in Japan. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'm sure if you're a JRPG fan, you know this, but Osakan is like a regional dialect.
Yeah.
So what they do is they look for regional dialects when they're translating. Now in American, it's often used as Texan.
Right.
But for us, we got Welsh.
So we got a Welsh Drippy.
Yeah.
And yeah, he was such a memorable character. And it wasn't just the fact that he had a Welsh accent. He used Welsh words. I mean, you're Welsh, Holly. You'll know
tidy.
better than I.
Is
that what you say in Welsh?
Jiffy was tidy, he was.
But yeah, those would be my 5 reasons why. I mean, I'm sure JRPG fans are going to be playing this anyway. It's a massive game on my radar. But those are 5 reasons I think even non-JRPG fans need to play Ni No Kuni 2. Even if you haven't played the original game, this is set hundreds of years after the first game, so you don't need to know what happened in the first game to enjoy this one, much like Final Fantasy games. I would really encourage you to give this a go. Get stuck in. Be like Dave.
Be like,
Be
don't,
like,
be
like
careful
Dave.
though. Don't
Yeah.
always be like Dave.
No, in terms of...
I mean, let's not take things we can't take back, Rob.
Indeed. Well, there you go. Please give us a like if you like the video. Let us know in the comments what you're thinking about and if you're excited for Ni No Kuni 2. And please do subscribe so you don't miss anything from the world of PlayStation.